I stepped out of my pickup after a 6-hour drive up the winding mountain roads, tools and supplies rattling in the bed, only to find yellow police tapes stretched across my own driveway. The air carried that sharp mix of pine and diesel, and there stood Evelyn Harrington, the HOA president, in her designer sunglasses and crisp khakis, calmly telling 2 deputies that I was trespassing on what she called an abandoned eyesore. In my hand were the deed, the tax receipts paid through next year, and the keys to the A-frame cabin I'd bought with every penny my father left me after his long battle with lung cancer. She didn't know it yet, but I'd spent 30 years as a licensed electrician spotting bad wiring and even worse lies. Her stack of evidence was about to short-circuit in front of everyone. Revenge isn't something I ever chased, but when someone tries to steal the last dream your dad had left behind, it burns hot enough to light the whole mountain. Let me take you back to how this nightmare started. 6 months earlier, I thought life had finally given me a break. Dad passed from the cancer that ate him slow, and his insurance payout came through, enough to chase the retirement he never got to enjoy. I found an abandoned A-frame at auction in the Blue Ridge foothills, outside a quiet little community called Pine Hollow Ridge, North Carolina. 3 acres of pine and hardwoods, a fixer-upper from the 70s with a sagging deck and windows that rattled in the wind. I paid $180,000 cash, sight unseen, figuring I'd document the whole renovation for a little side project. My wife, Linda, thought I'd lost my mind, but she backed me anyway. She'd keep her office job in Charlotte while I got the place livable. The first time I walked inside, the smell hit me. Musty wood, old mouse nests, the faint rot of dreams left to die. Sunlight slanted through cracked panes, catching dust motes like fireflies. Standing on that rickety deck, watching mist drift through the trees at dawn, I could picture our future. Quiet mornings with coffee, evenings watching the stars come out over the ridges. It felt like Dad was right there with me. Then Evelyn Harrington showed up on day 3. She marched up the gravel drive like she owned every inch of it. Perfect makeup at 7 a.m., expensive hiking boots, and a welcome basket that felt more like an inspection notice. "Welcome to Pine Hollow Ridge," she said with a smile that never reached her eyes. "I'm the HOA president, and I thought you should know about our community standards." She spent 20 minutes reading off violations. Work truck in the driveway, commercial vehicle, temporary power pole, unsightly, pile of old siding, accumulation of refuse. Her pen clicked on that clipboard like a metronome counting down trouble. Then came the thick packet of covenants, highlighted in yellow, every page screaming architectural review for anything from paint color to mailbox style. She eyed my worn boots and faded flannel like I was some kind of intruder. "We've worked hard to keep property values up," she said. "We expect residents to understand expectations." The way she lingered on certain residents, while glancing at my beat-up Chevy, said everything. I'd heard that tone before, on job sites where folks thought tradesmen didn't belong in nicer neighborhoods. 30 years running wire taught me one thing. When someone waves that many red flags, something's about to catch fire. But I had bigger worries, like knob and tube wiring that hadn't been touched since Nixon was in office. So I nodded, promised to file for permits, and figured I'd pay the fees to keep the peace. Dad's estate still needed settling anyway. I headed back to Charlotte for a few months to handle lawyers, medical bills, and selling Dad's old house. I asked my neighbor, old Tom Whitaker, a retired high school history teacher who'd lost his wife the year before, to keep an eye on the place. Tom seemed solid, quiet, coffee-scented cabin, the kind of guy who'd wave from his porch. He texted weekly, "All quiet here, Jack. Place looks the same." Everything felt under control. What I didn't know was that while I was grieving and signing papers, Evelyn was building her case. She'd been paying Tom $500 a month to monitor my property. By monitor, she meant photograph every flaw, every loose board, every bit of demo debris. Tom thought he was helping both sides, keeping me informed while earning grocery money. He didn't realize she'd been inside the house, taking pictures, measuring, even disconnecting a few things to make the abandonment look worse. Those photos ended up in county filings claiming the place was a public hazard. Because Evelyn Harrington didn't just harass people. She stole houses legally. Fast forward 6 months. I'm staring at police tape while Evelyn waves her thick folder at the deputies. This property's been abandoned over 90 days, she declares. Under state law, we filed for emergency abatement. Abatement, like my cabin was some meth lab instead of a renovation in progress. Deputy Morrison, the older one, looks at my deed. Sir, if taxes are current and you've got ownership papers. Evelyn cuts him off, spreading photos across the hood of the patrol car. Broken windows, water stains, sagging joists. Half the damage she'd caused herself during those break-ins. The younger deputy asks why it looks so neglected. That's when my patience snaps. Because I've been burying my father, I say, voice shaking with the kind of anger that comes from real loss. This place was bought with his insurance money. While I was planning his funeral, this woman was planning to take it. Morrison warns me to calm down. Evelyn smiles like she's already measuring curtains for my living room. I call my lawyer, Daniel Hayes, who picks up on the first ring even though it's Saturday. He explains emergency injunctions, restraining orders, the whole rigged game. Costs thousands just to fight for what's mine. That night, in a cheap motel 20 miles down the mountain, Linda drives up from Charlotte. She finds me in the parking lot, defeated, smelling like diesel and despair. They can't just take our house, she says, hugging me tight while semis rumble past on the interstate. But they were trying. We spent the weekend digging through public records on her laptop. What we found turned my stomach. Harrington Properties had flipped 6 distressed homes in the area in 18 months. Same pattern, sudden violations, emergency filings, owners selling cheap to make it stop. Average profit, over 40 grand per flip after quick cosmetics. Monday brings worse news, a restraining order against me personally. Evelyn claims I threatened her during the police visit, says my raised voice and agitated body language made her fear for her safety. The order keeps me 500 feet from my own property and her house at the entrance. Effectively banned from the whole community. Daniel's office smells like leather and coffee when we meet. This is textbook abuse, he says. Fight it, and you look aggressive. Don't fight, and you lose your house. Demolition clock ticking, 30 days, maybe less. I start tracing connections like I would a bad circuit. Evelyn's Facebook is wide open. Posts about protecting standards from unsuitable elements. Photos at fundraisers with the county building inspector and deputies. One golf tournament shot shows her toasting with the inspector who'd condemned my place and a deputy who looked a lot like Morrison. Linda finds more. Neighbors find thousands for garden gnomes that had sat there 15 years, decks stained the wrong color. Families forced to sell below market. It's not random harassment, it's a business model. Then Tom Whitaker shuffles over one day, guilt written all over his face. Jack, I need to confess. She paid me to watch your place. I thought I was helping. She said you'd authorized it for insurance purposes. She had keys made. Keys. She'd had access for months. The demolition notice arrives, 72 hours now, claiming imminent collapse after an emergency inspection by her brother's company. I watch from a gas station down the road as excavators roll in, diesel smoke mixing with mountain air like a funeral pyre. But every circuit has a weak point. Linda connects with a local reporter, Rachel Caldwell from the Mountain Gazette. Rachel's hungry for a real story. She starts digging and finds donations. Evelyn pays the inspector's country club dues, funds scholarships for the deputy's kid. Pattern matches other families, hundreds of thousands lost. Then Evelyn's ex-husband, Richard Harrington, calls from Florida. Bitter divorce, still owns part of her company. She's borrowed big against the business, he says over ice clinking in his glass. One bad deal, and it all collapses. She's desperate. Desperate people make mistakes. We hit back hard. Daniel files challenges to the fake covenant amendments. Only 18% approval when state law requires 2/3. Every action she's taken is fraud. The building inspector cracks, confesses promised kickbacks. Tom provides proof she damaged the place herself. Rachel uncovers deleted posts bragging about cleaning up the neighborhood from outsiders who don't belong. Witness intimidation starts, anonymous calls, threats to grandkids, pressure to recant. Then one night my security cameras catch her white SUV at Tom's place, cutting wires to his lights. Physical evidence. The final trap springs at the community meeting. Nearly 100 neighbors pack the center. Evelyn tries damage control, clipboard in hand. I stand up, explain the 18% vote on those amendments. She stammers. Rachel plays recordings. The FBI agent in the back row stands. Evelyn Harrington, you're under arrest. Conspiracy to violate civil rights, systematic fraud, witness intimidation, false reports. She screams about protecting our community from people who don't understand our values, digging her grave deeper on camera. Handcuffs click. The room erupts. Neighbors cheering, some crying with relief. 6 months later, I'm on the finished deck, fresh stains smelling good. Wind chimes Linda hung catching the breeze. The cabin's solid. New wiring, plumbing, kitchen we built together. Our YouTube channel sharing the renovation, and the fight has grown. Folks from all over share their own HOA battles. Evelyn got 18 months in minimum security for $100,000 in restitution, license revoked, company bankrupt. The community elected new leadership, real neighbors focused on safety, not control. Garden gnomes are welcome. Property values rose once word spread the bully was gone. State lawmakers passed reforms limiting emergency powers and adding penalties for abuse. Dad's dream house became our home. Every sunrise on that deck reminds me he's still here, in the quiet, in the fight we won. Bullies thrive when good people stay silent. But when folks organize, document everything, and stand together, even the most powerful house of cards falls. What do you think? Have you ever dealt with an overreaching HOA, a neighbor who abused power, or any kind of injustice that made you question fairness in everyday life? Share your stories in the comments, your stand on these issues, whether you fought back or wished you had. Your voice matters. Let's keep the conversation going.